Friday, August 21st, 2026. Today's World News Headline Summary. 1. The Korea Times. 1-1. The Korea Times draws record applicants for Global Supporters Program. The Korea Times Global Supporters Program has successfully attracted a record-breaking 281 foreign university students from 44 different countries for its second half 2026 term. This remarkable surge reflects a rapidly growing interest among international students residing in South Korea. Participants are recruited to actively promote the newspaper's events and content through their personal social media accounts. In exchange for their promotional efforts, students receive valuable training, networking opportunities, and a formal certificate of completion. According to an official, the program's primary appeal lies in the chance to connect with people of diverse nationalities and backgrounds who share an interest in media. Starting this year, the organizers will also introduce networking sessions, connecting new supporters with program alumni to share job hunting and academic experiences. Vocabulary. Attract. Verb. 끌어들이다, 유치하다. The festival managed to attract a large international crowd. Surge. Noun. 급증, 쇄도. There has been a recent surge in smartphone sales. Reside. Verb. 거주하다. Many foreign students reside in university dormitories. Recruit. Verb. 모집하다, 선발하다. The company is looking to recruit fresh graduates. Promotional. Adjective. 홍보회, 판촉회. They launched a promotional campaign for the new product. Certificate. Noun. 증명서, 수료증. She received a certificate after completing the course. Diverse. Adjective. 다양한. The city is known for its diverse cultural heritage. Alumni. Noun. 졸업생들, 동문. The university hosted a special dinner for its alumni. 시사용어 해설. Networking, networking. 공통의 관심사나 직업을 가진 사람들이 서로 정보를 교류하고 인맥을 형성하는 활동을 뜻합니다. 취업 시장이나 비즈니스 환경에서 핵심적인 사회적 자본을 쌓는 수단으로 자주 사용됩니다.
1-2. K-culture boom reshapes Seoul's hotel market. The relentless global surge in Korean culture is fundamentally reshaping the hospitality market in Seoul. According to the Korea Tourism Organization, foreign arrivals hit a record 10.71 million in the first half of 2026, up 21.3% from a year earlier. Unlike past group tours that focused primarily on budget shopping, modern international tourists are visiting for K-pop concerts and premium medical services. This shift in travel purpose has inevitably led to higher expectations for high-end luxury accommodations. In response to this lucrative trend, major operators like Lotte Hotels and Resorts are strategically revamping their properties. By reducing overall room counts to offer larger, more opulent spaces, they aim to significantly boost revenue per available room. Vocabulary. Reshape. Verb. 재편하다, 모양을 고치다. Artificial intelligence is expected to reshape many industries. Hospitality. Noun. 환대, 숙박 외식업. He has worked in the hospitality industry for over 10 years. Budget. Adjective. 예산에 맞는, 저렴한. They offer budget flights for international travelers. Accommodation. Noun. 숙소, 숙박시설. The travel package includes flights and luxury accommodation. Lucrative. Adjective. 수익성이 좋은, 돈이 되는. Real estate investment can be a highly lucrative business. Revamp. Verb. 개조하다, 쇄신하다. The management decided to revamp the entire website. Opulent. Adjective. 호화로운, 풍부한. The hotel features an opulent dining room with crystal chandeliers. Revenue. Noun. 수익, 수입. The tax changes will generate more revenue for the government. Revenue per available room, RevPAR, 객실당 수익. 호텔업계의 핵심 성과 지표로 판매 가능한 총 객실수 대비 발생한 객실 총 매출을 의미합니다. 단순히 객실을 많이 파는 것보다 고급화를 통해 단가를 높여 이 수치를 올리는 것이 최근 호텔들의 주요 전략입니다.
1-3. Main stock market's turnover falls to year-to-date low in August. The daily turnover of South Korea's main stock market plummeted to a year-to-date low in August. Following a significant downturn in July, the average daily trading volume dropped to roughly 36.8 trillion won before slipping further. This creates a stark contrast to the aggressive bull run witnessed in May and June, when the figure regularly jumped to over 50 trillion won. Analysts at major securities firms described the local stock market's trading value in the first half of 2026 as unusually overheated. Consequently, financial experts view the recent steep tumble in trading volume as a natural correction. They believe it simply represents the normalization of stock transactions that had previously increased excessively. Vocabulary: turnover, noun, 거래액, 총매출, 회전율. The market's daily turnover has decreased rapidly this month. Plummet, verb, 곤두박질치다, 급락하다. The currency's value plummeted following the political scandal. Downturn, noun, 하락, 침체. Many small businesses suffered during the economic downturn. Contrast, noun, 대조, 대비. The gentle music forms a stark contrast to the violent movie scene. Bull run, noun, 강세장, 상승장. Investors made significant profits during the tech sector's bull run. Overheated, adjective, 과열된. The central bank raised interest rates to cool the overheated economy. Tumble, noun/verb, 폭락, 굴러떨어지다. Shares took a tumble after the disappointing earnings report. Normalization, noun, 정상화. Citizens are hoping for a quick normalization of basic public services. 시사용어 해설, bull run, 강세장. 주식시장에서 주가가 장기간에 걸쳐 상승하는 현상을 뜻합니다. 뿔을 아래에서 위로 치받는 황소, 불의 공격 모습에서 유래했으며 반대로 주가가 하락하는 약세장은 곰, 베어가 발톱을 내리찍는 모습에 빗대어 베어마켓이라고 부릅니다. 2. The Korea Herald 2-1. Trump's 57 nukes claim raises questions over changes to end Korea strategy. U.S. President Donald Trump's recent claim that North Korea possesses 57 very powerful nuclear weapons is drawing intense scrutiny from security experts. The highly precise figure has raised eyebrows because Trump did not cite a source or define the parameters of this arsenal. This number noticeably contradicts his earlier statement in April, where he estimated the arsenal at 45. Meanwhile, South Korean intelligence officials consistently estimate Pyongyang's nuclear stockpile to be significantly higher. The remark comes as the U.S. president signaled strong interest in meeting North Korean leader Kim Jong-un later this year. Analysts are debating whether this unusually specific rhetoric indicates an impending strategic shift in Washington's approach to the isolated regime. Vocabulary: possess, verb, 소유하다, 보유하다. The organization possesses heavily classified documents. Scrutiny, noun, 정밀조사, 철저한 검토. The proposed budget is currently under intense public scrutiny. Precise, adjective, 정확한, 정밀한. The architect requires extremely precise measurements for the building. Contradict, verb, 모순되다, 반박하다. The witness's testimony completely contradicted the video evidence. Estimate, noun, verb, 추정치, 추정하다. Official estimates suggest the population will double by 2050. Arsenal, noun, 무기고, 비축된 무기. The country agreed to significantly reduce its nuclear arsenal. Stockpile, noun, verb, 비축량, 비축하다. The military has a massive stockpile of emergency medical supplies. Rhetoric. Noun. 수사학. 미사여구. Politicians are often criticized for using empty rhetoric instead of acting. 시사용어 해설. Nuclear arsenal. 핵무기고, 핵무력. 국가나 군대가 보유하고 있는 핵무기의 총량을 의미합니다. 단순한 무기고 건물이라기보다는 한 국가의 전반적인 군사적 비축 역량을 지칭하는 추상적 개념으로 뉴스에서 빈번하게 사용됩니다. 2-2. Entire summer's worth of rain fell on Gyeonggi in just 2 days. A record-breaking torrential downpour has struck South Korea's southeastern region, causing unprecedented and widespread devastation. According to the Korea Meteorological Administration, the city of Gyeonggi received a staggering 638.7 millimeters of rain in just a 24-hour period. This extraordinary volume effectively equals an entire summer's worth of precipitation falling within 2 days. Consequently, local authorities have reported more than 2,500 cases of severe storm damage across the affected provinces. Emergency rescue operations accounted for at least 162 of the immediate crisis responses. Political figures are actively urging relevant ministries to swiftly implement all necessary measures to minimize further disruption and accelerate recovery efforts. Vocabulary. Torrential. Adjective. 억수같이 쏟아지는. Torrential rains caused massive landslides along the coast. Downpour. Noun. 폭우. 호. The sudden downpour completely ruined our outdoor picnic. Unprecedented. Adjective. 전례 없는. The pandemic caused an unprecedented crisis in the tourism industry. Devastation. Noun. 대대적인 파괴, 황폐화. The earthquake left absolute devastation in its wake. Staggering. Adjective. 충격적인, 믿기 어려운. The CEO's annual bonus was a staggering $10 million. Precipitation. Noun. 강수량, 강수량. Deserts are defined by their incredibly low annual precipitation. Minimize. Verb. 최소화하다. Wearing a seatbelt helps minimize the risk of serious injury. Disruption. Noun. 혼란, 붕괴, 중단. The heavy snow caused severe disruption to the public transport system. 시사 용어 해설. Meteorological Administration. 기상청. Meteorological은 기상하게, 대기에라는 뜻입니다. 정부기관을 뜻하는 administration이 결합하여 기상 관측 및 예보를 담당하는 공식 기관을 지칭합니다. 영문 뉴스에서는 KMA, Korea Meteorological Administration로 흔히 표기됩니다.
2-3. Chip exports nearly triple, marking highest amount for the period. South Korea's outbound shipments of semiconductors have experienced an explosive surge, nearly tripling to reach $26 billion. This remarkable figure marks the highest export amount ever recorded for this specific period. Consequently, chips now account for a massive 2% of the nation's total exports, jumping 5 percentage points from a year earlier. In other sectors, exports of petroleum products and steel also gained significant ground, rising by 4% and 7% respectively. However, the manufacturing industry faced a mixed reality as automobile exports severely slipped by 1% to $52 billion. By destination, exports to major trade partners like China and the United States saw massive double-digit growth. Vocabulary. Outbound. Adjective. 밖으로 향하는, 수출하는. Outbound flights were delayed due to severe thunderstorms. Semiconductor. Noun. 반도체. Taiwan and South Korea dominate the global semiconductor market. Explosive. Adjective. 폭발적인. The tech company has seen explosive growth over the last 5 years. Triple. Verb/adjective. 3배가 되다, 3배. The city's population is expected to triple by the end of the decade. Account for. Phrasal verb. 뭐뭐를 차지하다, 설명하다. Oil exports account for more than half of the country's GDP. Petroleum. Noun. 석유. The nation heavily relies on imported petroleum products for energy. Respectively. Adverb. 각각, 제각기. Tom and Mary are aged 10 and 12, respectively. Destination. Noun. 목적지, 도착지. Paris is the most popular tourist destination in Europe. 시사 용어 해설. Outbound shipments. 해외 출하량, 수출 물량. 공장이나 국가에서 외부로 나가는 화물을 의미하며 경제기사에서는 수출,
exports와 완전히 동일한 의미로 쓰입니다. 반대로 국가 안으로 들어오는 수입 물량은 inbound shipments라고 표현합니다.
3. CNN 3-1. Donald Trump and Michael Cohen have public conversation after bitter feud. After 8 years of a highly publicized and bitter feud, Donald Trump and his former personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, have remarkably buried the hatchet. Cohen, once known as Trump's loyal pit bull before becoming a fierce critic, hosted the president for a 40-minute phone interview on his radio program. This unprecedented public détente showcased a dramatic shift in their relationship, with Trump stating, "I respect the fact you recanted everything you said." When asked how they could sit down together after launching years of verbal missiles, Cohen emphasized that forgiveness requires courage, not amnesia. Revealing that their connection is actively being resuscitated, Cohen admitted he has formally submitted an application for a presidential pardon. Vocabulary. Feud. Noun, verb. 불화, 다툼. The historic feud between the two families finally ended. Bury the hatchet. Idiom. 무기를 거두다, 화해하다. After years of arguing, they decided it was time to bury the hatchet. Loyal. Adjective. 충성스러운, 충실한. The dog remained completely loyal to its owner until the end. Détente. Noun. détente, 긴장 완화. The summit resulted in a brief period of détente between the superpowers. Recant. Verb. 철회하다, 취소하다. The witness was heavily pressured to recant his testimony. Amnesia. Noun. 기억상실증. Following the severe head injury, he suffered from temporary amnesia. Resuscitate. Verb. 소생시키다, 부활시키다. The medics tried desperately to resuscitate the drowning victim. Pardon. Noun. Verb. 사면, 용서, 사면하다. The governor granted a full pardon to the wrongly convicted man. 시사용어 해설. détente, 프랑스어로 휴식, 긴장 완화를 의미합니다. 냉전 시대 미국과 소련 간의 détente처럼 적대적인 정치 세력이나 국가 간의 긴장 상태가 풀리고 관계가 회복되는 것을 뜻하는 국제 정치 용어입니다.
3-2. Navy weighs renaming carrier slated to honor Black war hero to Trump. The U.S. Navy is reportedly exploring an unprecedented move to rename an aircraft carrier initially designated to honor a Black World War II hero. The Ford-class carrier, currently titled the USS Doris Miller, made history as the first aircraft carrier named after an enlisted African-American sailor. However, sources confirm internal discussions are underway to potentially switch the name to honor sitting President Donald Trump. Naming a major active warship after a sitting president would mark a significant and highly controversial departure from traditional military protocols. To compensate for the change, the Navy is simultaneously recommending Doris Miller for the Medal of Honor, the nation's highest decoration for military valor. Officials are also considering transferring Miller's name to a different naval vessel. Vocabulary. Unprecedented. Adjective. 전례 없는. The extreme weather pattern is completely unprecedented in this region. Designate. Verb. 지정하다, 지명하다. This historic building has been designated as a national treasure. Enlisted. Adjective. 사병에, 징집된. Enlisted soldiers perform the core operational duties in the military. Sitting. Adjective. 현직에. It is incredibly rare to name a monument after a sitting politician. Controversial. Adjective. 논란이 많은. The new tax proposal proved to be a highly controversial topic. Departure. Noun. 벗어남, 일탈, 출발. The artist's latest album is a radical departure from her previous work. Compensate. Verb. 보상하다, 벌충하다. The airline must compensate passengers for the delayed flight. Valor. Noun. 용기, 무용. The firefighter was awarded a medal for extraordinary valor in the blaze. 시사용어 해설. Medal of Honor. 명예훈장. 미군이 받을 수 있는 최고의 무공훈장입니다. 전투 중 자신의 생명을 잃을 위험을 무릅쓰고 눈에 띄는 용맹과 자기희생을 보여준 군인에게 의회의 승인을 거쳐 대통령이 직접 수여합니다. Number 3. 3. Gage Goulding joins CNN as Seoul-based international correspondent.
CNN has officially announced the hiring of Gage Goulding as its new Seoul-based international correspondent. Goulding's assignment highlights the network's commitment to strengthening its on-the-ground reporting capabilities across East Asia. By basing a dedicated international correspondent in South Korea, CNN recognizes Seoul's rapidly growing significance in global geopolitics, technology, and culture. This strategic personnel move aligns with CNN's recent success, having marked strong second quarter and year-over-year gains across multiple media platforms. The network achieved its best second quarter prime performance among total viewers in 5 years, driving further investments in global journalism. Goulding is expected to cover pivotal regional developments, enhancing the depth of CNN's international coverage. Vocabulary. Correspondent. Noun. 특파원. 기자. The network sent a war correspondent to report from the front lines. Highlight. Verb. 강조하다. 돋보이게 하다. The report highlights the urgent need for structural reform. Capability. Noun. 능력. 역량. The military is constantly upgrading its defensive capabilities. Significance. Noun. 중요성. 의미. The scientist explained the significance of the new discovery. Geopolitics. Noun. 지정학. Oil control has always been a major factor in global geopolitics. Personnel. Noun. 인원. 인사. 인적 자원. The company announced significant personnel changes in management. Align with. Phrasal verb. 와 일치하다. 부합하다. His actions do not align with the company's core values. Pivotal. Adjective. 중추적인. 핵심적인. The general played a pivotal role in winning the crucial battle. 시사용어 해설. Correspondent. 특파원. 본사를 떠나 외국이나 특정 지역에 파견되어 그곳의 정치, 경제, 사회 뉴스를 전문적으로 취재하고 송고하는 기자를 말합니다. Correspond. 서신을 주고받다. 에서 유래한 단어입니다. 4.4 BBC 4-1 U.S. national debt hits record $40 trillion after doubling over 10 years. The United States national debt has crossed a grim historical threshold, surpassing $40 trillion for the first time in the nation's history. According to recent Treasury figures, this staggering sum means the total debt load has effectively doubled over the past decade. This dramatic financial escalation reflects years of immense government spending that spans both the Trump and Biden administrations. Furthermore, the surging interest payments required to service this debt are steadily pushing the total even higher. Economic experts warn that as the federal government heavily borrows to cover massive budget deficits, ordinary consumers are penalized with higher interest rates and persistent inflation. The Congressional Budget Office has raised alarms, noting the U.S. is rapidly approaching its $41.1 trillion debt ceiling. Vocabulary. Grim. Adjective. 암울한. 엄숙한. The doctor gave a grim prognosis regarding the patient's health. Threshold. Noun. 한계점. 문지방. The economy is teetering on the threshold of a severe recession. Surpass. Verb. 능가하다. 넘어서다. Global online sales surpassed previous records this holiday season. Staggering. Adjective. 충격적인. 믿기 어려운. The sheer scale of the earthquake damage was completely staggering. Escalation. Noun. 악화. 단계적 확대. We must avoid any military escalation in the disputed region. Penalize. Verb. 불이익을 주다. 처벌하다. Banks penalize customers who withdraw money early from fixed accounts. Persistent. Adjective. 지속적인. 끈질김. The region has suffered from a persistent drought for 3 years. Ceiling. Noun. 천장. 한도. 상한선. The government refused to raise the artificial price ceiling on oil. 시사용어 해설. Debt ceiling. 부채 한도. 미국 연방정부가 국채를 발행해 질 수 있는 국가 부채의 법적 최고 한도입니다. 이 한도에 도달하면 정부는 더 이상 돈을 빌릴 수 없어 공무원 급여 지급 중단, 셧다운, 이나 심하면 국가 부도, 디폴트 사태에 직면하게 됩니다.
4-2 UK PM pledges continued support for Ukraine ahead of Zelensky visit. UK Prime Minister Andy Burnham has strongly pledged to maintain unwavering British support for Ukraine ahead of a meeting with President Volodymyr Zelensky. Zelensky's arrival marks the very first international visit since Burnham took office, illustrating the profound strength of the bilateral relationship between the two nations. During a scheduled tour of a naval base, Britain is set to announce a groundbreaking initiative to share the intellectual property behind its new Stonecloak electronic warfare system. This critical technology transfer will empower Ukraine to independently produce the advanced defense system at scale. Speaking to the BBC, Burnham reiterated that his government's commitment to Ukrainian sovereignty is absolute and 100%. Vocabulary. Pledge. Verb or noun. 약속하다, 맹세하다. The new CEO pledged to double the company's charity donations. Unwavering. Adjective. 확고한, 흔들림 없는. The soldiers demonstrated unwavering loyalty to their country. Profound. Adjective. 깊은, 엄청난, 심오한. The philosopher's teachings had a profound impact on modern thought. Bilateral. Adjective. 쌍무적인, 양자간의. The two nations successfully concluded a bilateral trade agreement. Groundbreaking. Adjective. 획기적인. Scientists have made a groundbreaking discovery in cancer research. Intellectual property. Noun. 지적재산권. Software code is heavily protected by intellectual property laws. Empower. Verb. 권한을 주다, 자율권을 주다. Education empowers young people to change their difficult circumstances. Reiterate. Verb. 반복하여 말하다. The manager reiterated the importance of strictly following safety rules. 시사 용어 해설. Intellectual property. 지적재산권, IP. 발명, 상표, 디자인, 예술작품 등 인간의 창조적 활동으로 만들어진 무형의 재산에 대한 권리입니다. 방산 분야에서 IP를 제공한다는 것은 무기의 설계도와 원천 기술을 통째로 넘겨준다는 의미로 최고의 군사적 지원을 뜻합니다.
4/3. Ukraine says major Russian oil refinery and airfield hit. Ukrainian forces have reportedly intensified their deep strike campaign, successfully attacking a major oil refinery and a strategic airfield inside Russian territory. The high-profile strike took place in the Engels area of the Saratov region, located hundreds of kilometers from the Ukrainian border. According to Russian government reports, the devastating aerial assault resulted in at least 8 fatalities. This operation highlights a significant shift in Ukraine's military capabilities, as they utilize advanced drones to target critical Russian logistics and energy infrastructure directly. Defense analysts suggest that achieving fire control over these vital hubs acts to disrupt Russia's supply lines effectively without needing massive troop deployments effectively. Vocabulary. Intensify. Verb. 강화하다, 심화시키다. The storm is expected to intensify as it approaches the coastline. Refinery. Noun. 정제소, 정유공장. The oil refinery processes thousands of barrels of crude daily. Strategic. Adjective. 전략적인. Capturing the hill gave the army a massive strategic advantage.
High profile. Adjective. 세간의 이목을 끄는. It was a high-profile court case that dominated the national news. Devastating. Adjective. 파괴적인, 치명적인. The tsunami had a truly devastating effect on the coastal villages. Capability. Noun. 능력, 역량. The Navy recently upgraded its underwater detection capabilities. Disrupt. Verb. 방해하다, 지장을 주다. The protest completely disrupted traffic in the city center. Deployment. Noun. 군대, 무기의 배치. The sudden deployment of troops raised international concerns. 중심 타격 작전. 최전선에서 교전하는 것을 넘어 적의 후방 깊숙한 곳, deep에 위치한 지휘부, 보급기지, 통신망 등을 원거리에서 타격하여 전쟁 수행 능력 자체를 마비시키는 군사 전략입니다.
5. ABC Australia. 5-1. Australia condemns Israel's decision to close probe into aid workers' deaths. Australia has vehemently condemned Israel's recent decision to close its criminal investigation into the deaths of international aid workers in Gaza. Foreign Minister Penny Wong voiced profound dissatisfaction over the apparent lack of accountability regarding the killing of Australian national Zoe Frankham and her World Central Kitchen colleagues. The aid workers were tragically killed in an Israeli airstrike earlier this year, an event that provoked massive global outrage. Wong emphasized that the Australian government expects full transparency and tangible consequences for those responsible for the fatal error. She firmly noted that this abrupt dismissal of the probe comes at a difficult time, severely straining bilateral diplomatic ties. Vocabulary. Vehemently. Adverb. 열렬히, 맹렬하게. The politician vehemently denied the corruption allegations. Condemn. Verb. 규탄하다, 비난하다. The UN condemned the aggressive actions of the military regime. Probe. Noun/verb. 조사, 수사, 캐묻다. The government ordered an independent probe into the financial scandal. Accountability. Noun. 책임, 의무. The public is demanding strict accountability from the police force. Outrage. Noun. 객분, 대분노. The court's light sentence caused widespread moral outrage. Tangible. Adjective. 만질 수 있는, 실질적인. The new policy has resulted in tangible benefits for small businesses. Abrupt. Adjective. 갑작스러운. The meeting came to an abrupt end when the fire alarm rang. Strain. Verb, noun. 부담을 주다, 긴장시키다. The prolonged economic crisis has heavily strained family relationships. 5-2. Over 1,000 birds found dead in suspected H5N1 mass mortality events. Authorities in South Australia have distressingly reported that over 1,000 wild birds have died in suspected H5N1 avian influenza mass mortality events. The ecological tragedy involved massive flocks of crested terns discovered dead by surveillance teams on remote offshore islands. South Australian Premier Peter Malinauskas warned Parliament that this deadly outbreak represents a significant escalation of bird flu in the state. Amplifying the ecological alarm, officials are particularly concerned about a suspected case involving a vulnerable little penguin on Kangaroo Island. In swift response, the government is treating the crisis with the utmost seriousness and is exploring targeted vaccination campaigns to protect managed native bird populations. Vocabulary. Distressingly. Adverb. 고통스럽게, 비참하게. The hospital wait times have become distressingly long this winter. Avian. Adjective. 새해, 조류해. Scientists are monitoring the migration patterns of avian species. Ecological. Adjective. 생태계, 생태학적인. Deforestation is causing massive ecological damage to the planet. Surveillance. Noun. 감시, 감독. The building is protected by a 24-hour video surveillance system. Offshore. Adjective. 앞바다에, 연안에. The engineers are designing a highly efficient offshore wind turbine. Escalation. Noun. 악화, 단계적 확대. Diplomats are working hard to prevent a military escalation. Vulnerable. Adjective. 취약한, 연약한. Infants and the elderly are particularly vulnerable to the cold virus. Utmost. Adjective. 최고의, 극도의. You must treat these historical artifacts with the utmost care.
5-3. Missing hiker's body recovered from National Park southwest of Sydney. Authorities have confirmed the tragic recovery of the body of missing 18-year-old hiker Lily Hooper from a national park southwest of Sydney. Hooper had been missing for over a week after she ventured into the rugged Ngatai National Park on August 12 and failed to return home. Her sudden disappearance triggered a massive multi-agency search effort involving nearly 1,000 personnel, including members of the Defence Force. A police spokesperson informed the Australian Broadcasting Corporation that the body was finally located late Thursday night. Investigators stated that the remains will undergo a thorough post-mortem examination to determine the exact cause of death. Vocabulary. Recovery. Noun. 수습, 회복, 복구. The diving team assisted in the recovery of the sunken treasure. Venture. Verb/noun. 모험하듯 가다, venture. The brave explorers ventured deep into the unmapped jungle. Rugged. Adjective. 험준한, 바위투성이에. They drove their jeep across the incredibly rugged mountain terrain. Trigger. Verb. 촉발하다, 유발하다. Certain strong smells can trigger severe allergic reactions. Personnel. Noun. 인원, 직원들. All authorized personnel must wear an ID badge at all times. Locate. Verb. 찾아내다, 위치를 알아내다. The rescue team used GPS technology to locate the lost hikers. Thorough. Adjective. 철저한, 빈틈없는. The detective conducted a thorough search of the suspect's apartment. Postmortem. Noun/adjective. 부검, 사후 검토. A postmortem revealed that the victim had been poisoned.
6. CGTN 6-1. OpenAI to lease massive new AI data center in U.S., backed by NVIDIA. ChatGPT creator OpenAI is set to lease a massive new data center in the United States for 20 years, bolstered by a staggering $105 billion financing commitment from NVIDIA. The ambitious infrastructure project will be built on a former Cold War-era uranium enrichment plant in Ohio. It is expected to eventually reach an unparalleled 8 gigawatts GW of capacity, comfortably making it the largest single artificial intelligence data center in the world. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman highlighted that the site will yield immense computing power to support millions of AI users globally. However, tech developers must simultaneously navigate rising hostility and backlash from local residents over the enormous electricity and water resources consumed by such facilities. Vocabulary. Bolster. Verb. 지지하다, 강화하다. The company used a new marketing strategy to bolster falling sales. Staggering. Adjective. 충격적인, 믿기 어려운. The national debt reached a staggering $1 trillion this month. Ambitious. Adjective. 야심찬, 어마어마한. Building a colony on Mars is an incredibly ambitious scientific goal. Enrichment. Noun. 농축, 풍부하게 함. The rogue nation continued its illegal uranium enrichment program. Unparalleled. Adjective. 비할 데 없는, 전례 없는. The athlete possesses unparalleled speed and agility on the field. Yield. Verb. Noun. 생산하다, 산출하다, 수익. The new agricultural techniques yielded a much larger crop this year. Hostility. Noun. 적대감, 적이. The controversial law was met with open hostility from the public. Backlash. Noun. 사회적 반발, 역풍. The CEO's inappropriate comments caused a massive media backlash. 시사용어 해설. 기가와트, 기가와트, GW. 1기가와트는 10억 와트, W로 대규모 발전소의 전력 생산량 단위를 의미합니다. 원자력 발전소 1기, 약 1기가와트와 맞먹는 막대한 양이며 AI 데이터 센터가 전기 먹는 하마로 불리는 이유가 바로 이러한 엄청난 전력 요구량 때문입니다. 6-2. Russia warns Britain of consequences for supplying drones to Ukraine. Russia issued a severe warning to Britain, declaring it will face inevitable consequences for supplying Ukraine with deep strike drones used to attack Russian territory. The threatening statement from the Russian embassy in London followed multiple media reports confirming that British-made unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, were deployed for long-range strikes. London's actions will inevitably carry consequences for which it will have to answer, the embassy stated, emphasizing the high risk of sparking a broader confrontation. Despite Moscow's repeated threats of harsh retaliatory measures, a British Defense Ministry spokesperson confidently reaffirmed their position. The UK government firmly stated it stands shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine and remains fully committed to providing essential defensive equipment. Vocabulary. Severe. Adjective. 엄중한. 심각한. The factory workers suffered severe burns during the chemical explosion. Inevitable. Adjective. 피할 수 없는. 불가피한. Some economists argue that a global recession is completely inevitable. Unmanned. Adjective. 무인해. The military relies heavily on unmanned drones for reconnaissance missions. Deploy. Verb. 군대, 무기를 배치하다. The general decided to deploy 3 extra battalions to the border. Confrontation. Noun. 배치, 충돌. The protests quickly escalated into a violent confrontation with riot police. Retaliatory. Adjective. 보복적인. The country launched retaliatory missile strikes after the border incident. Reaffirm. Verb. 재확인하다. The president reaffirmed his solid commitment to protecting human rights. Shoulder to shoulder. Idiom. 어깨를 나란히 하고 협력하여. The citizens stood shoulder to shoulder to fight against the dictatorship.
6-3. Zelensky says 103 Ukrainian soldiers return from Russian captivity. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has triumphantly announced that 103 Ukrainian soldiers have safely returned home from Russian captivity. This positive development was the direct result of a newly negotiated prisoner of war (POW) exchange between the two warring nations. Concurrently, the Russian Ministry of Defense confirmed that 103 of its own servicemen were also successfully transferred back from Ukrainian-controlled territory. Despite the escalating missile barrages and brutal frontline combat, both sides continue to engage in these intermittent humanitarian swaps. The successful one-for-one exchange provides a rare glimmer of hope and relief for the affected families amidst a grinding, protracted war. Vocabulary. Triumphantly. Adverb. 의기양양하게, 기세 좋게. The athlete triumphantly raised the gold medal over her head. Captivity. Noun. 억류, 감금, 포로 상태. The wild animals were bred in captivity to save them from extinction. Negotiate. Verb. 협상하다, 타결하다. The union leaders successfully negotiated a significant pay raise for workers. Concurrently. Adverb. 동시에, 나란히. 2 separate investigations are running concurrently to solve the mystery. Intermittent. Adjective. 간헐적인. 때때로 끊기는. The weather forecast predicts intermittent rain showers throughout the day. Humanitarian. Adjective. 인도주의적인. The UN delivered crucial humanitarian aid to the starving refugees. Glimmer. Noun. Verb. 희미한 빛. 기미. The discovery of the new drug offered a glimmer of hope to patients. Protracted. Adjective. 오래 끄는, 지연된. The protracted legal battle severely drained the company's financial resources. Number 7. NHK World Japan. Number 7. 1. Japan records unprecedented 5-day streak of temperatures reaching 40 Celsius. Japan is currently enduring a brutal heat wave, recording an unprecedented 5-day streak where temperatures soared above 40 Celsius, 104 degrees Fahrenheit. This marks the longest consecutive period of such extreme heat ever documented in the nation's meteorological history. Experts attribute this relentless heat to a remarkably strong high-pressure system parked squarely over the archipelago, essentially trapping hot air. In response to the crisis, health officials have strongly urged citizens to avoid non-essential outings and utilize air conditioning continuously. Climate scientists emphasize that this severe weather anomaly is a direct and dangerous manifestation of accelerating global climate change, affecting mid-latitude regions. Vocabulary. Brutal. Adjective. 혹독한, 참혹한.
The brutal winter storm left thousands of homes without electricity. Streak. Noun. 연속. 1년. The basketball team celebrated an incredible 12-game winning streak. Meteorological. Adjective. 기상해. 기상하게. Airports rely on accurate meteorological data to ensure flight safety. Attribute. Verb. 이탓. 덕으로 돌리다. The coach attributed the stunning victory to the team's relentless practice. Archipelago. Noun. 군도. 다도해. Indonesia is the largest archipelago in the world, containing thousands of islands. Non-essential. Adjective. 비필수적인. The government ordered all non-essential shops to close during the lockdown. Anomaly. Noun. 이례적인 거. 변칙. The sudden drop in stock prices was an anomaly in an otherwise stable market. Manifestation. Noun. 나타남. 징후. 표명. Her constant fatigue was an early manifestation of a serious illness.
7-2. U.S. sanctions ICC President Tomoko Akane over arrest warrants. The United States government has controversially imposed harsh sanctions on Tomoko Akane, the Japanese president of the International Criminal Court, ICC. This unprecedented retaliation comes as a direct response to the ICC pursuing an arrest warrant for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu regarding alleged war crimes. The Trump administration fiercely condemned the International Tribunal, publicly labeling it a corrupt and highly politicized institution. Under these aggressive new measures, any financial assets held by Akane and other targeted senior ICC officials within the U.S. will be strictly frozen. Meanwhile, the UN Secretary General expressed profound concern over Washington's blatant attempts to intimidate an independent global judicial body. Vocabulary. Controversially. Adverb. 논란의 여지가 있게. The judge controversially dismissed the crucial evidence before the trial began. Retaliation. Noun. 보복. 안갚음. The missile strike was in retaliation for the previous border attacks. Warrant. Noun. 영장. 보증서. The detective requested a search warrant to inspect the suspect's vehicle. Tribunal. Noun. 재판소. 법정. An international tribunal was established to prosecute crimes against humanity. Label. Verb. 낙인 찍다. 분류하다. The harsh critic labeled the highly anticipated movie as a complete failure. Politicize. Verb. 정치화하다. Some issues are unfortunately politicized instead of being solved scientifically. Blatant. Adjective. 노골적인. 뻔뻔스러운. His explanation was a blatant lie designed to completely avoid taking responsibility. Intimidate. Verb. 위협하다. 겁주다. The mafia boss attempted to intimidate the jury members before the verdict. 시사용어 해설. International Criminal Court, ICC, 국제형사재판소. 집단 살해, 전쟁 범죄, 반인도적 범죄 등 국제사회 전체의 관심사가 되는 중대한 범죄를 저지른 개인을 처벌하기 위해 설립된 상설 국제재판소입니다. 국가 간의 분쟁을 다루는 UN 산하의 국제사법재판소 ICJ와는 다른 기관입니다. 7-3. Japanese schools rethink summer homework. Schools across Japan are fundamentally rethinking their traditional approach to assigning massive amounts of summer homework. For decades, Japanese students have struggled under the weight of uniform assignments, ranging from daily picture diaries to mandatory book reports. However, growing criticism suggests that this rigid system stifles children's creativity while placing heavy burdens on both teachers and parents. In a progressive shift, many educational institutions are now completely abolishing mandatory cookie-cutter tasks. Instead, they are encouraging self-directed learning, allowing students to freely choose and explore topics they are genuinely passionate about during the summer vacation. This reform aims to foster a more engaging and personalized educational environment. Vocabulary. Rethink. Verb. 재고하다. 다시 생각하다. We need to rethink our current marketing strategy to attract younger consumers. Uniform. Adjective. 획일적인. 균일한. The houses in the new suburban development have a completely uniform appearance. Mandatory. Adjective. 의무적인. 필수의.
Wearing a seatbelt is absolutely mandatory for all passengers in the car.
경직된, 엄격한. The school's rigid discipline system left no room for individual expression. Stifle, verb. 억누르다, 숨막히게 하다. Strict micromanagement can easily stifle employee creativity and motivation. Abolish, verb. 폐지하다. The government decided to completely abolish the outdated tax law. Cookie cutter, adjective. 천편일률적인. I'm tired of watching those predictable, cookie-cutter romantic comedy movies. Self-directed, adjective. 자기주도적인. The online course relies heavily on self-directed study and strong personal motivation. 8.1. U.S. vows toughest sanctions on Iran, urges China to back move. The United States has vowed to enforce the toughest economic sanctions ever seen against Iran in a bold move to cripple its leadership. The U.S. Treasury Secretary explicitly stated that these unprecedented financial measures are designed to cause the Iranian government to economically collapse. Furthermore, Washington issued a stern warning to its allies and urged global powers like China to fully back the coalition or face severe secondary consequences. This highly aggressive financial blockade aims to completely choke off Iran's critical oil exports. Consequently, maritime traffic in the vital Strait of Hormuz is experiencing extreme anxiety as merchant vessels fear getting caught in an escalating geopolitical crossfire. Vocabulary. Vow. Verb. 맹세하다, 공언하다. The newly elected mayor vowed to significantly reduce crime in the downtown area. Cripple. Verb. 심각한 손상은 주다. A massive cyber attack essentially crippled the hospital's computer network for days. Explicitly. Adverb. 영시적으로, 분명하게. The manual explicitly warns users not to expose the battery to high heat. Coalition. Noun. 연합, 동맹. Various environmental groups formed a powerful coalition to protest the logging project. Blockade. Noun. 봉쇄, 차단. The naval blockade effectively stopped critical food supplies from reaching the island. Choke off. Phrasal verb. 차단하다, 중단시키다. Exceptionally high interest rates could eventually choke off national economic growth. Maritime. Adjective. 바다에, 해상에. The country boasts a rich maritime history due to its long, rugged coastline. Crossfire. Noun. 십자포화, 집중공격. Sadly, many innocent civilians were caught in the intense military crossfire. Secondary consequences. Secondary boycott, 2차 제재. 제재 대상 국가, 이란과 직간접적으로 거래하는 제3국의 기업이나 은행까지도 처벌하여 미국 시장에서 퇴출시키는 매우 강력한 경제 제재 방식입니다.
8.2. Deadly Russian missile barrage hits Kyiv in hours-long overnight attack. Russia launched a deadly, hours-long overnight barrage of ballistic missiles and explosive drones, deliberately targeting the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv. The relentless aerial assaults struck multiple residential buildings, a central railway station, and logistical warehouses, resulting in widespread destruction. Local authorities painfully reported that at least 17 civilians were tragically killed and over 40 others were injured in the horrifying attack. In response to the bloody carnage, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky stressed that possessing more air defense interceptors could have saved. Meanwhile, the Russian Defense Ministry attempted to justify the attack by falsely claiming they had exclusively targeted military logistics hubs. Vocabulary. Barrage. Noun. 일제사격. 세례. The corrupt politician faced a fierce barrage of angry questions from reporters. Ballistic. Adjective. 탄도이. The rogue state recently test-fired a new intercontinental ballistic missile. Relentless. Adjective. 가차없는. 끈질긴. The athlete's relentless training schedule ultimately led him to win the championship. Aerial. Adjective. 항공위. 공중위. The military relies heavily on aerial photography to accurately map enemy positions. Horrifying. Adjective. 끔찍한. 소름 끼치는. The survivors described the horrifying conditions inside the collapsed tunnel. Carnage. Noun. 대학살. 참상. The gruesome battlefield was a scene of unbelievable and absolute carnage. Interceptor. Noun. 요격기. 요격 미사일. The advanced defense system deployed multiple interceptors to shoot down incoming threats. Justify. Verb.
정당화하다. He constantly tries to justify his bad behavior by blaming his stressful job.
8-3. U.S. deports nearly 2,300 Mexicans to Guatemala over Mexico's objections. The Trump administration has aggressively ramped up deportations to third countries in a controversial bid to strongly deter illegal immigration. In a highly contentious move, the U.S. recently deported nearly 2,300 Mexican nationals directly to Guatemala, entirely bypassing their home country. This strategic policy aims to make it significantly harder and more expensive for deported migrants to attempt returning to the U.S. border. However, this action was executed completely over the vocal objections of the Mexican government. Mexican officials and international human rights advocates argue that sending citizens to an unfamiliar third nation without consent is extremely dangerous and legally questionable. Vocabulary. Aggressively. Adverb. 공격적으로, 적극적으로. The tech giant is aggressively expanding its market presence in Asia. Ramp up. Phrasal verb. 늘리다, 증가시키다. The factory is planning to ramp up production ahead of the holiday season. Deportation. Noun. 구괴추방. He is currently facing immediate deportation for severely violating his visa terms. Deter. Verb. 단념시키다, 억제하다. High fines are designed to deter drivers from speeding in residential zones. Contentious. Adjective. 논쟁을 초래하는. Immigration reform remains a highly contentious issue in American politics. Bypass. Verb. 우회하다, 건너뛰다. They decided to bypass the heavy city traffic by taking a small country road. Execution. Noun. 실행, 집행. The flawless execution of the marketing plan resulted in record sales. Vocal. Adjective. 목소리를 높이는, 강경하게 밝히는. She has been a vocal critic of the government's harsh environmental policies. 9. CBC Canada 9-1. Zambia's President Hakainde Hichilema re-elected for a second term. Zambia's incumbent president Hakainde Hichilema has been successfully re-elected for a second 5-year term, officially securing roughly 60% of the valid votes. He comfortably defeated his main political challenger, Brian Mundubile, capitalizing heavily on his track record of steering the copper-rich nation out of a severe debt crisis. Despite the victory, Mundubile put up an unexpectedly strong fight by tapping into deep public frustration over lingering everyday economic hardships. Although international observers stated the voting itself was largely peaceful, they expressed deep concern over the chaotic aftermath. Arrests of leading opposition figures distorted the political playing field, leaving lingering questions about fundamental freedoms during the electoral process. Vocabulary. Incumbent. Adjective, noun. 현직에, 현직자. The incumbent mayor faced harsh criticism during the televised debate. Valid. Adjective, 유효한, 타당한. You must present a valid passport before boarding the international flight. Capitalize on. Phrasal verb. 을 활용하다, 기회로 삼다. The smart company capitalized on the rising trend of eco-friendly products. Track record. Noun. 개인, 단체의 실적, 업적. She has an excellent track record of successfully managing large corporate projects. Frustration. Noun. 불만, 좌절감. The frequent software crashes caused immense frustration among all the users. Linger. Verb. 남다, 계속되다. The bitter smell of smoke lingered in the burned room for several days. Aftermath. Noun. 전쟁, 재난 등의 여파, 후유증. The town struggled to rebuild infrastructure in the aftermath of the devastating hurricane. Distort. Verb. 왜곡하다, 비틀다. The biased journalist intentionally distorted the facts to support his political argument. Number 9. 2. Residents traveled to watch blockbusters following Yellowknife cinema closure. Following the permanent closure of Yellowknife's only movie theater, residents of the remote northern Canadian city are going to extreme lengths to watch summer blockbusters. Film enthusiasts are now heavily forced to travel by plane to larger southern cities just to experience major cinematic releases on a big screen. local business owners accurately point out that operating a cinema in such an isolated area presents steep and often insurmountable financial hurdles. It is incredibly difficult to survive off revenue from just 2 or 3 massive blockbuster movies a year while constantly paying high overhead costs all year round. In the meantime, grassroots community groups are stepping up by hosting free monthly screenings of classic movies at the local public library. Vocabulary. Permanent. Adjective. 영구적인. The tragic accident unfortunately caused permanent damage to his left eye. Remote. Adjective. 외딴. 원격에. She lives peacefully in a very remote village surrounded by beautiful mountains. Enthusiast. Noun. 열광적인 팬. mania. He is a massive vintage car enthusiast and attends every local auto show. Cinematic. Adjective. 영화에. 영화 같은. The director was highly praised for his beautiful and innovative cinematic vision. Isolated. Adjective. 고립된. 외떨어진. The small island is completely isolated from the rest of the busy modern world. Steep. Adjective. 가파른. 가격등이 터무니없는. The mountain trail has a very steep slope that is dangerous for beginners. Hurdle. Noun. 장애물. 곤란. A severe lack of initial funding is the biggest hurdle for our new startup project. Overhead. Noun. 회사의 경상비. 고정비. The business ultimately failed because its monthly overhead costs were simply too high.
9-3. Municipal door campaigning encounters new realities, including police calls. Candidates running in British Columbia's municipal elections are encountering harsh new realities while embarking on the time-honored tradition of door-to-door campaigning. Independent council candidate Madhavi Inamdar was completely shocked when local residents actually called the RCMP police on her. Neighbors had suspiciously reported the canvassers as suspicious women, prompting police to confront them during their campaign trail. Seasoned campaigners note that while door-knocking still occasionally yields grateful and rewarding interactions, the overall atmosphere has grown much more hostile. Candidates now frequently face residents who openly express raw rage and vitriol directly at their doorsteps, highlighting a deeply polarized political climate. Vocabulary. Municipal. Adjective. 지방자치제에. 시에. The local government approved the massive budget for the new municipal library. Encounter. Verb. Noun. 맞닥뜨리다. 경험하다. We unexpectedly encountered several technical problems during the software installation. Embark on. Phrasal verb. 착수하다. 시작하다. After graduating, she decided to embark on a long and exciting journey across Europe. Suspicious. Adjective. 의심스러운. 수상한. The guard noticed a suspicious package left unattended near the main entrance. Canvasser. Noun. 유세원. 조사원. The political canvasser walked around the neighborhood asking people for their votes. Seasoned. Adjective. 경험 많은. 노련한. The seasoned lawyer easily handled the incredibly difficult and complex court case. Rewarding. Adjective. 보람 있는. Teaching children can be an incredibly rewarding and fulfilling career choice. Vitriol. Noun. 독설. 신랄한 비난. The politician's speech was full of anger and vitriol against his political opponents.
10. DD India. 10-1. Digital BRICS Forum and Expo held in Pune ahead of ministerial meeting. Ministerial delegations from BRICS member nations have gathered in Pune, India for the 12th BRICS Communications Ministers meeting. Setting the stage for the main event, the city successfully hosted the Digital BRICS Forum and Expo, highlighting cutting-edge technological advancements. The central discussions are heavily focused on leveraging emerging technologies, enhancing cybersecurity, and building highly resilient digital public infrastructure, DPI. An Indian minister emphasized how India's population-scale digital infrastructure successfully serves as a transformative model to drive inclusive economic growth. Ultimately, the gathering aims to exchange best practices and substantially strengthen digital capabilities across the entire global south. Vocabulary. Delegation. Noun. 대표단. The diplomatic delegation arrived safely at the airport for the crucial peace talks. Set the stage. Idiom. 무대를 마련하다. 준비하다. The successful software test set the stage for a massive global product launch.
leverage. Verb. 활용하다. We must leverage our existing financial resources to achieve the maximum possible impact. Resilient. Adjective. 회복력 있는, 탄력 있는. The country's economy proved to be highly resilient during the unexpected global crisis. Transformative. Adjective. 변화시키는, 혁신적인. The invention of the internet has had a truly transformative effect on modern society. Inclusive. Adjective. 포용적인, 모두를 포함하는. The school actively aims to create an inclusive learning environment for everyone. Capability. Noun. 능력, 역량. The military has greatly improved its long-range missile defense capabilities this year. Advancement. Noun. 발전, 진보. The recent medical advancement has significantly improved the survival rate of patients. 시사용어 해설. Digital Public Infrastructure, DPI, 디지털 공공인프라, 국가가 주도하여 구축하는 디지털 경제의 뼈대입니다. 국민 신원 인정 시스템, ID, 디지털 결제망, 데이터 교환 플랫폼 등이 포함되며 이를 통해 정부는 효율적으로 복지 혜택을 제공하고 민간은 안전하게 전자상거래를 할 수 있습니다.
10-2. Japan's Defense Minister Shinjiro Koizumi calls on PM Modi. Japan's Defense Minister Shinjiro Koizumi paid a significant official visit to New Delhi, where he called on Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. During their high-level bilateral meeting, both leaders strongly reaffirmed the critical importance of defense and security cooperation. They collectively agreed that such deep strategic partnerships are absolutely essential for promoting long-term peace, stability, and prosperity across the Indo-Pacific region. Prime Minister Modi specifically highlighted exciting and profitable opportunities for Japanese defense companies to partner closely with emerging Indian startups. He enthusiastically encouraged co-development and co-production initiatives directly under India's flagship Make in India manufacturing policy. Vocabulary. Call on. Phrasal verb. 사람을 방문하다, 예방하다. The foreign ambassador will formally call on the president tomorrow morning at the palace. Bilateral. Adjective. 쌍무적인, 양자 간의. The two neighboring nations successfully signed a completely new bilateral trade agreement. Strategic. Adjective. 전략적인. We need to secure a strategic position in the market before our fierce competitors do. Prosperity. Noun. 번영, 풍요. Constant economic stability is absolutely vital for the long-term prosperity of the nation. Highlight. Verb. 강조하다, 돋보이게 하다. The comprehensive report highlights the urgent need for much better public education. Initiative. Noun. 주도권, 새로운 계획, program. The government enthusiastically launched a new initiative to heavily save electrical energy. Flagship. Noun/adjective. 주력 상품, 대표적인. The tech company just released its new flagship smartphone to rave reviews worldwide. Emerging. Adjective. 신흥해, 떠오르는. The investors are putting all their money into rapidly emerging tech markets in Asia. 10-3. Amit Shah welcomes cabinet decision to establish High Court bench in Ladakh Union Home Minister. Amit Shah warmly welcomed the Union Cabinet's landmark decision to establish a dedicated bench of the High Court of Jammu and Kashmir in Ladakh. Shah publicly praised the strategic move, stating it would significantly improve access to swift justice for people living in the Union Territory's remote, mountainous areas. Historically, residents of Ladakh faced extreme logistical difficulties and high travel costs just to access the main judicial systems. The new judicial bench firmly underlines the Modi government's ongoing commitment to strengthening administrative presence and the rule of law in the region. Establishing this local court is expected to seamlessly expedite pending legal cases and empower marginalized communities. Vocabulary. Landmark. Adjective/noun. 획기적인, 주요 지형지물. The judge's unexpected ruling was a landmark decision for civil rights in the country. Dedicated. Adjective, 전담하는, 헌신적인. The hospital opened a new clinic entirely dedicated to treating rare skin diseases. Mountainous. Adjective, 산악이, 산이 많은. The rescue helicopter carefully navigated through the dangerous mountainous terrain. Logistical. Adjective, 물류위, 실행상이. Planning the massive outdoor concert presented several very difficult logistical challenges. Rule of law. Noun. 법치주의. A healthy democracy strictly depends on completely maintaining the rule of law. Expedite. Verb. 촉진시키다, 신속히 처리하다.
We paid an extra fee to cleverly expedite the shipping of our important package. Empower. Verb. 권한을 주다. 자율권을 주다. Good education fundamentally empowers young women to radically change their communities. Marginalized. Adjective. 소외된. 주변부로 밀려난. The charity focuses exclusively on helping poor and marginalized groups in the city.